to talk with you. So hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us on this emotional recovery conference. I hope you're enjoying yourself, and I hope you are learning a lot of new tricks and techniques and ideas that can help you further your emotional healing and recovery, especially for those that are dealing with disasters or dealing with trauma or dealing with grief, because there's a lot of things going on right now in our nation, and we have our own personal tragedies and our own personal obstacles that come up that we need help and those resources as well. So I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nicole Vincent, and I am a holistic empowerment coach. And I'm very passionate about helping others realize that they have other options. That's something that I remember when I went to my first essential oil class. I was very anti anything natural. And so going to this oil class, I wanted to see my friend that was teaching. I really didn't want to learn about hippie weird oils, and I didn't want to be that kind of person. And, but God had bigger plans. And so I went and I learned, and it started opening this door to a new world that I didn't even know existed or was relevant. And everybody kind of gets introduced into that world at different angles, different times, different doorways. And mine was essential oils. And as I learned about essential oils, I was using them for physical healing and physical support. And I started noticing something. And I have to kind of backtrack a little bit on this for you to appreciate what I started noticing. So I'm the oldest of 4 children, and I grew up in a home that my parents fought a lot, and there was a lot of discord within my parents' marriage. And there was no abuse or anything negative towards me. It was kind of a hostile environment. And my parents were just being people going through life, trying to figure things out and doing the best they could. But it was a very difficult circumstance for me and caused me a lot of depression and negative emotions that I didn't like. And so as a child, I protected myself by kind of going numb, where I would basically have this nice flat line of emotion. And let me stop sharing here real quick. But I had this flat line of emotion where I wouldn't feel anything negative, but I wouldn't feel a lot of positives either. But it was to keep me safe. And I did this for years to protect myself from going into depressions and from feeling those other icky feelings that can come along with divorce and homes breaking up and other things that go on as you grow up. And so I had basically been numb for 30 years. And I'm probably going to get emotional talking about this, but that's just who I am. So we're going to deal with it. Hopefully I don't end up with mascara down my face. But as I started using these essential oils, this awakening started happening. I could feel again. And it was kind of scary at first. I'm like, whoa, like what's going on? Why am I able to feel like these positive emotions that I haven't felt in a long time? And it was really interesting to me. And so I started learning about how emotions can connect, essential oils actually can affect our emotions. And that discovery, that connection led me down this rabbit hole of holistic healing. And I really felt, for me, it was a very God-led experience. And it was just line by line, precept by precept of here's a little bit more. Here's a little bit more. Here's a little bit deeper understanding. And so if a lot of this that you're learning today is a little bit overwhelming, take what you can that you can digest now, and then the next step will come later. Don't worry about it. But as I started using these essential oils and I started being able to feel again, I had hope that I could heal those emotions too. And that started me on a journey into learning more about energy medicine. And so exploring different modalities, things like foot zoning and EFT, which was the tapping that Christy showed us, acupuncture, and other energy healing, emotion code, muscle response testing that have really helped me not only discover how to heal, but discover the gifts that God gave me to help heal others. And so I want to share several of these tools with you today to help you be empowered and feel like you can take your healthcare into your own hands and your emotional well-being into your own hands. I do live down in Houston, and so I got to experience the flooding that came along with Hurricane Harvey. And it was one heck of a wild ride. It was so surreal. And it just happened like a month and a half ago, but it feels like a lifetime ago. But it feels like yesterday at the same time. But my home didn't flood, but a lot of homes in my area, the flooding came within a quarter of a mile of my home. And I'm very empathetic. I'm an empath. I can feel emotion from other people. And so I could feel this emotional weight of the city and what was going on in my area because it was a very heightened emotional state. Now, some of you might relate to that. You might say, oh, I've been in a party or I've been in a group and I've been able to feel other people's emotion. Like I'd be sad all of a sudden and I had no idea why. Or I'd be super happy and it was out of nowhere. And that's when being an empath is when you're able to feel other people's emotions. And it's a gift, but it can be a curse because it can make you feel weird if you don't know what's going on. And so it can make you feel anxious. It might have you might feel headaches, or you might feel a little nauseated. If you're like, ugh, you might avoid crowds because you know they make you feel funny. If that sounds like you, then more than likely you're an empath. Now, a few things that I've learned along this journey is a technique called shielding. And shielding is just where we're going to basically create an energetic shield around ourselves to keep ourselves protected. It's like a little energetic bubble so that you can experience what's going on without taking on anybody else's stuff. Because what happens is, even if you're not an empath, even if that description didn't resonate with you, if we're hanging out with somebody that's super, super negative, maybe they're dealing with a depression, or they're just really going to have a lot of negative self-talk, or we've got maybe a good friend that's going through grief because they just lost a loved one. Those emotions, they can stick on us. We can act like a magnet or a sponge, and those emotions can stick on us. So I want to teach you a few techniques today to help protect yourself from that happening so that you're only dealing with your own stuff. So the first shielding technique, I think that's the easiest and probably most effective, is prayer. Now, we learn, in the Bible, ask and you shall receive, right? It's in there a lot. And so if you ask for that shield, the armor of God, that can help protect you from taking on other people's energy. Other techniques that I like are gemstones. You'll see, if you ever see me out, you'll always see me wearing different gemstone bracelets. And these are to help protect me from taking on the energy that's around me and from taking on other people's energy. Especially as I'm seeing clients and I'm working with different people, I don't want to take on the stuff that they're releasing, right? That's not fun. So gemstones are incredibly effective. And I'm not going to go into a ton about gemstones. I can if there's time at the end. But basically, it's my belief that God gave us a lot of tools here on this earth, and gemstones are one of them. And they do have a measurable frequency that they have specific properties, just like essential oils, just like plants. And so they can be used as a protection and as healing as well. And so the stones I have, this one is just a mix of different gemstones, things like black moonstone, merlinite, obsidian. I think there's some tourmaline on there. And then this one right here in the middle is called blue tiger's eye. And then this is chalcedony, I believe. And so you can wear a bracelet or a loose stone. You'll usually find me with loose stones in my pockets. And there's a lot of different resources out there if that's something that you're interested in. Now, I will tell you guys that these are tools. And when you go out into the world, there's people that yield tools for good, and there's people that yield the tools for bad. And so as you're seeking out information, seek in the light. Follow that little intuition that you feel, this is a yucky. I don't like this. Then leave that and look for another source. When I'm reading about information about stones, sometimes there's things that just, they don't resonate with me. And so I just take the good, I take the good stuff that I like, and I leave the rest. And that can apply in any circumstance. And so just kind of have that built-in filter of, hey, I'm going to take the good and I'm going to leave what doesn't resonate with me. And that way you can gain knowledge and grow. If stones don't do it for you, that's okay. You don't have to do that. So some good shielding stones that I like to use are tiger's eye is a really great one. And you can get bracelets, you can get stones on Etsy, on Amazon. There's lots of different resources out there. But, you know, if it's super cheap, remember, you get what you pay for. There is, you know, quality does matter. But things like tiger's eye, obsidian, tourmaline, most of the black stones or the darker stones are very good protectors for shielding. And when I work with clients and test them, it's almost always on the left side. The stone wants to be either on the left wrist as a bracelet or in the left pocket. I don't have any explanation for that other than it's just something that I've noticed with my clients. Christy asks, is there a list of stones that you'd recommend for different purposes? I'm trying to write as fast as I can, but I'm losing some. There's some great books. There's a book called, it's actually 3 books called The Crystal Bible by Judy Hall, and I'll type that here in the chat box. The Crystal Bible by Judy Hall. And she has 3 different ones. They have different stones. So the first one is just kind of like your starter, and then she expands on the other ones. But that's a great reference book. I would say I agree with about 70% of that book. So there's some stuff in there that it's out there even for me, and I'm pretty out there. So that's one that I should say, it has good information, but just take what you need and leave the rest. But stones can be a very good, let's see, oh, thank you, Monette. It says energetically and electronically, the left side is the receiving side of the body. So you're receiving protection. There we go. There's a little explanation of why the left side is a favorite when I'm testing. But stones are a super easy way to be shielded so that you're not taking on other people's energy. They're also really good for emotional healing. Depression is something that I have to manage. And so there are stones that I will use to help with that. And one of my favorite is called Vesuvianite. I'm going to type it out in the chat box because it's kind of, it's a crazy word. Vesuvianite. Vesuvianite. And that is actually one of my favorite stones for negative self-talk and just overall feeling yucky and depressed. It just is a very uplifting stone that just really helps. So you'll see me with a Vesuvianite stone in my pocket most of the time. But I do enjoy stones. I don't do like crystal grids or anything. For me, that doesn't resonate. And I just have like a bowl. You can see my bowl right here behind me of loose stones that I like. And I just kind of go and it's like, oh, this one looks good today. Or I might do muscle response testing to see what is the best stone for me that day. And I am going to show you guys how to muscle response test here in a little bit. But stones are just an easy way to help be shielded and to just raise your vibration and to help in processing all those overwhelmed emotions, because sometimes it's just more than we can handle. And those little adjustments can really make a big difference. So shielding with stones is a big thing. The next thing I like to do is use essential oils. And essential oils that are great for shielding are oils like a protective blend, On Guard if you're familiar with doTERRA, protective blend, the protective blend, the repellent blend, which is Terra Shield. Those are all both really, really good for having a shield. And you can just apply them over your heart, on the bottoms of your feet, and it works really, really well to help you be shielded against negativity. Let's see, Janet has a question. She says, I've been told citrine is told to protect you from being overwhelmed by heavy energy in crowded areas. Is this true? I'm going to look up here in my little book real quick and we'll see. And there's a lot of stones that can help with protecting in a big group. So citrine is, let's see. It absorbs, transmutes, dissipates, and grounds negative energy. So that is true, Janet. So citrine is a very great grounding stone as well, or protective stone as well. So there's tons of stuff, and this is here. You guys can look at this. You can find this on Amazon, and there are 3 different. It's by Judy Hall, and there are 3 different volumes. So they are different, but I would just start with this one. This is kind of the first one. If this is something you're interested in. If you're like, lady, you're weird with your stones, then just ignore it. We'll go on to the next thing. Okay, so I love stones. I could talk about them for a long time. I honestly don't understand why on a lot of things. I just know that they work, and I know that they're beneficial, and they make me happy, and they make me feel better. So we use stones a lot in our house. The next technique, and we're talking about essential oils, many of them, since they have a higher vibration, then you can use many of them for protection. I know different ones of my different kids. I have 4 kids. They all have different oils that work well for them. One is Purify, one is Lemon, one is On Guard, and one is the other one. I think Terra Shield maybe. But that's something that applying essential oils can help you be protected and shielded against that negative energy as well. Especially if you're in a circumstance where there is a heightened emotion sense. If you're in a disaster area, or your community has been devastated by an event, then there's going to be heightened emotions, which means increased energy, which means you need to protect a little bit more. And essential oils for protection, you can diffuse them. I like to apply it over the heart or the bottoms of the feet. Those are my 2 favorite places for applying for protection. But you can do what feels right to you. God blessed you with this beautiful thing called intuition. Listen to it. That will be your biggest gift that you ever give to yourself, because we spend so much energy and effort to shut that intuition up, because 9 times out of 10, that doesn't make sense. But once we follow it, once we tune into that intuition, once we listen to that still small voice, then we are able to actually progress in a way that we were meant to progress. And we're going to be able to be led to the things that we were meant to be led to. So keep that in mind and listen to that. So essential oils are very powerful for shielding as well. Another technique for shielding is visualization. So I like to do this in my morning meditation. My meditation in the morning, which Mira gave us lots of great ideas earlier today, but my meditation in the morning is just laying in bed before I get out and face the world. And I'm just laying there with my eyes closed. And I imagine myself grounded to the earth, and it kind of changes. So sometimes I might be on a mountain, sometimes I might be in a river, sometimes I might be in a meadow. But I get myself grounded, and then I just imagine a giant bubble of light just encircling me. And I'm in this nice light bubble. I can see everything going on around me, but nothing negative can penetrate it. Only love comes through. Only goodness comes through. And that works really, really well for me. And that visualization will change up for me sometimes. Sometimes it will be, God will have a picture, and instead of liquid pouring out of it, it will be like liquid light, and it's just getting poured into the top of my head and filling up my entire body, and I'll just imagine that getting filled up, and that works great too. So there's lots of different ways you can visualize that protection. Some people visualize like stepping into a suit of light or putting on the armor of God, whatever works for you. The next one is a technique called Zip Up, and this is actually from Donna Eden. And if you'd like to learn more about energy medicine, Donna Eden has a lot of information out there on YouTube and different books, and she's a big pioneer. And so, I'm going to show you how to zip up, and this is super easy. And if you're at a place where you can try this, I encourage you to do so. So you're just going to stand up, and you're going to take your hand from your groin area, and just imagine yourself zipped up, go to your mouth and go out. And we're going to do that 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And see if you notice a shift. Like you might feel a little tingly. You might feel nothing. But if you do that before you go out into a large group, if you do that before you go around somebody that might be more of a negative person, then that can be very protective as well. So lots of techniques there for shielding, but I would recommend, if you're one that tends to be affected by your environment and the people and the energy around it, try out those different techniques and see what works for you and see what helps you feel safer and in a better place of peace. Because when we are carrying other people's emotions, it weighs us down. And so that leads me into teaching you, how do we get those emotions off that have been absorbed by other people, that they're not even ours? We're just like, oh, here, let me take that luggage for you. And we're just, piling them on until we're this pack mule of junk that isn't even ours. Now, this goes along with the emotion code. And this is something that is super, super easy. Every one of you can do it. And I recommend doing it nightly, especially if you're one that tends to pick up stuff from other people energetically. And it's just having the intention of, I'm releasing any absorbed emotions. And then you're just going to go from your hand, from your forehead to the back of your head. And you're going to throw it out. So we're going to do that 3 times. So 1, I'm releasing absorbed emotions. 2, 3. And I just flick it off, and it dissipates. Now, we can do that because guess what? We are magnetic. You can also use it, a magnet if you have one, but you don't need one. You can just use your hand. And it works really well. And a lot of times if you do have absorbed emotions, then you can feel it. When you do that, I'll feel tingly and I'll feel that release. Some people won't feel anything. It kind of depends on how sensitive you are to the energy shifts in your body. But that is an important technique to practice and create a habit with, so that you are cleaning those cobwebs out daily, that it's not going to compound. So then you end up with this whole stack of absorbed emotions that are weighing you down when you already have your own emotions, right? And so that can be very, very healing and very, very powerful. So make that part of your daily routine, and you'll see lots of great results from that, and you'll feel a lot lighter. The next box of tools that I want to share with you is called muscle response testing. Now, this is probably my absolute favorite holistic tool, because it is one that is incredibly versatile and very, very accurate and very easy to do. I think anybody can do it. And it basically is a physical manifestation of your intuition. It's telling you what your body is in need of and what your spirit's in need of. And so, and there's a lot of science behind it. There's applied kinesiology is what it's called. You'll see several chiropractors around the country use applied kinesiology in their practices. They might do an arm test, or they might use a leg to check resistance. And what's happening when we're doing this, we're doing a muscle test, is our body is electric, right? There's energy and electricity flowing through our body. So as we introduce a stimulus, whether it's a physical stimulus, so like, oh, I've got this stone, or you know what, I'm going to think about this stone, because a thought is a thing, and that's a stimulus, then you can get a positive or a negative response based on the muscles. If it's going to strengthen and it's a good thing, you're going to have a positive response or a strengthening of the muscles. And if it's something that's going to be negative, is going to weaken the muscles, because as our muscles, they need electricity to constrict and to perform. And if that connection is weak, they're not going to be as strong. If it's strong, it's going to be stronger, right? And so you can use any muscle group in your body. And I'm going to show you an easy way to use all the muscle groups in your body by using something called the sway test. So this is something that even children can do. And what you want to do is you want to stand, I'm going to stand sideways, but you want to stand shoulder, your feet are going to be shoulder width apart, okay? And I'm going to do this so you can see my movement. But I stand usually with my hands on my heart just because that feels balanced to me. But you can stand if this feels more balanced, but you just want to stand balanced. Now, you want to make sure you're well hydrated for this, because if you're not hydrated, there's not the conductor of electricity in your body that you need for the proper responses. And there's a lot more to it, but I'm just giving you the basics. So the first thing you want to do is check to see what a truth feels like. And your name is probably one of the strongest truths you know. So you want to say, my name is Nicole. So if you try that and say your name, you will feel a pull forward. Now, if you try this and you feel a pull backward, then guess what? Your electricity in your body is probably flowing in the wrong direction. And so applying an oil, essential oil like Balance, which is a grounding blend, drinking some more water, and there's some other techniques to help reverse that polarity. But if you're noticing on a definite truth like your name and you're getting a backwards response, then your polarity is probably reversed. Now, we want to see what a negative response looks like. And so I'm going to say my name is Bob. Nope, my name is not Bob. Okay? And we do that so we can feel the difference between a positive and a negative response. Now, this is a muscle test because we're using all of the muscles in our body to give us a response. Now, you can use this, how you apply this in your life. Let's say you're struggling with, today I'm struggling with a sore throat and I'm fighting an infection. I've got a low-grade fever. I'm not feeling great. So I can grab a supplement and test out. So this is I just grabbed it randomly. This is a magnesium supplement. And so I can either hold it, the actual supplement, or you can just think about it. I would recommend probably holding it if you're brand new to it until you get used to it. But I'm going to ask the question, would this supplement benefit me right now? Okay, no. Okay, now we've got another supplement here that I grabbed. This is neem. It's an actual, it's like a cleanser and something that helps kill mold because we have a lot of mold in our area with all the flooding. Is this something that would benefit my body right now? Yes. Okay. So now I got a yes. And you have to be careful with your questioning. I said, would this benefit me right now? And the answer was yes. If I got a no and I had said the phrase right now, then I might just need it in an hour. So be careful and play around with your questioning because that does matter. So now we're going to see how many do I need. Would taking this now benefit me? Okay, yes. How many capsules do I need? 1. Okay, so just 1. Did you see how I went back? So it gave me the count of 1, and then it told me it was done by giving me a negative. So that's all I needed was 1. So that is something that you can practice with, and you can use this on essential oils. You can use it on food. You can use it on stones. You can use this on anything. You can also use your hands, and this is what I do most of the time, is using my hands to muscle test. And so there's different ways to hold your hands. You can hold them like this. This is how I do it is if you breaks, that's a negative. If it stays strong, that's a positive. You can also use just a straight finger, positive, negative. Now what I'm doing is I'm keeping consistent pressure. I'm not like squeezing the heck out of my hand that my hand is going to cramp. I just have nice firm pressure there. So like if I was holding a coin, it wouldn't fall out. But you could probably come and pull it out of my hand. But there's decent pressure there. And then what you're doing with your breaking, either you're breaking with your finger, this is constant. Like you're not like trying to break it. Or like, it's a constant, okay? And same thing, okay? So my name is Nicole. It's going to be strong. My name is Bob. It's going to break. My muscles are not going to be able to hold strong because Bob is not true, right? But watch this. My husband's name is Matt. If I say my name is Matt, I can get a positive because he's my husband and we're really close. So when you're doing your false name, make sure it's somebody that you're not close to or don't even know, to make sure that you get a good false. Just that's a little trick. But as you're doing the muscle testing with your hands versus doing the full sway test, is you're able to test more and you're able to test faster because you're using a smaller muscle group. And so I can go through and I'm going to show you this. So I've got a picture of my oil drawer. And then I will test from this. And so I can look at this and I can say, okay, would using any oils right now benefit me? Yes. Would it benefit me to do it aromatically? No. Internally? Yes. Topically? Yes. Okay. What do I need internally? Okay. We're looking for internal. And we're going to say, how many bottles am I looking for? Now you want to say the word bottles because we have blends, right? So you would say something like, okay, how many bottles would benefit me internally? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm looking for 3 because did you see it broke on that 4? So I got a false on the 4 because that ended, okay? And then I can go through my little chart by just testing columns, okay? And it ended on vetiver, okay? So I got vetiver. How many drops, and I need this internally, how many drops of vetiver in the capsule? 1, 2, 3. So 3 drops of vetiver in a capsule. And then I would go through and find out the other oils, okay? So it's super, super useful to be able to know how to muscle test with your hands. It takes a lot of practice and it takes trusting yourself. Now, guys, don't overthink it. If you overthink muscle testing, it probably will not work for you. But if you just make that decision, you know what, this is going to work for me, then you can get in there and you can just practice. So you can practice yeses, say yes, 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 no, 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 just while you're watching TV or something. But it can be very, very helpful on helping you know exactly what supplements to take or exactly what essential oils to use or identifying what emotion needs to be released. It's basically giving your spirit, your body a voice, and it's incredibly useful. And it's one that I use on a daily basis and one that has been incredibly beneficial to me. Now, muscle testing is not fortune telling. It's not divination. It's not telling the future. It's nothing like that. You're simply asking what is and what can benefit you. Okay, so we're not doing this, not like a lie detector. It's nothing like that. It's just to get information, okay? And so for me, I use this as I connect with my clients energetically or remotely. It's kind of like a Wi-Fi connection. I muscle test on their behalf to get information about, okay, do they have emotions that need to get released? Are there essential oils that would be beneficial to help them get balanced in this area? Do they need some supplementation? Do they need some gemstones in their life? Do they need to stop certain habits? Do they need to eat certain specific foods or avoid specific foods? All different things you can use muscle testing for to get these answers and to understand what's going on with the body and get down to those root causes. Because a lot of times we might be getting headaches, right? And we get headache after headache after headache. Well, you can keep taking, medication to stop the pain of the headache, or you can get down to the root of what's happening. It could be a food trigger. It could be stress. It could be an energy trigger. It could be trapped emotions. It could be a lot of different things, and it could be multiple contributors as well. And so muscle response testing actually helps you figure those out and identify them and then have a plan of action. And that's what I help people with. But it's a really useful tool, especially as you're dealing with a hard time. If you're really overwhelmed, you're not sure what oil to use, I go to my oil drawer and I'm just like, this one's really sticking out. I can grab it and you can do a sway test to see if that's the right oil for you. It's really fun to teach your kids how to do this too, because they think it's pretty cool, because when you try it, your body just responds. If your body is not responding, more than likely you're probably dehydrated. And make sure you don't have like any cell phones or any like smart watches on, because that's going to interfere with your electricity as well. So as we're dealing with these disasters, as we're dealing with this overwhelm, there's so many tools out there that we can use. And energy work and dealing in the quantum physics realm of what we know and understand, and what we don't understand, what we know works, can be incredibly beneficial. So have an open mind to what might be a blessing for you, because you never know what might be that missing link that makes sense for you. I know for me, it was a gradual process as I learned more and more, and I continue to learn more, and I continue to try out different things. And some stuff has worked great for me, and some stuff hasn't. Some things have really resonated with me, and some things haven't. And that doesn't mean that they're right or wrong. It just means that they're right or wrong for me at that time. And so I encourage you guys to have an open mind and to be curious and be open to what's out there. Now, that doesn't mean that when we're dealing with energy, you want to make sure that you're dealing with people that are working the light, so to speak, because energy is it's neutral, right? And there's people working on both sides. And so be mindful. If you have that pit in your stomach and you're like, this just doesn't feel right, walk away and seek out someone else, because the answer's out there or the right person's out there for you. But just be mindful of that. If just because you're like, oh, well, they said that they do muscle response testing, but I met them and it just doesn't feel right. Listen to that. That's your intuition trying to tell you something. Or if you're listening, let's say you're listening to us speak today and something that one of the speakers really said really just stuck in your mind and you're like, oh, that really, I need to look into that. Follow that, listen to that, because that is God telling you that you need that in your life and that you need to learn more about that area or that subject, because there's so much out there and so many tools available that you can be empowered. You can take care of your own emotions. You can be the driver and not let your emotions rule you. Now, emotions, they're going to be there. We're going to experience them all the time. It's a daily thing. It's happening all throughout the day, right? Our kids frustrate us, or our spouse does, or we frustrate ourselves, or something stressful. And that's when I use different techniques. I use breathing. I use some meditation. I use some oils. I use some emotion code. I use some stones. And the more tools you have, the better job you can be, right? It's like remodeling a house. We don't go into a full house remodel with just a hammer, right? And a lot of times that's what we kind of end up with, because we don't know that there's more than a hammer. But if we have an orbital saw and we have a jigsaw and we have all these other tools, we can make that remodel so much better. And because certain tools can only do certain things. And so it's important to keep collecting tools into your tool belt of health as well. Because you're going to be your best advocate for your health, and everything has a price and everything has a consequence. And if you don't take control of your health, then you're going to pay for it later on down the line, just like we talked about those emotions. I do want to share with you one more book real quick while I'm thinking about it. And this is a super helpful book that really has helped me. It's called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And this book goes into explaining of how our emotions have physical manifestations. So it's crazy. I'm going to show you an example. So my youngest daughter, she is now almost 9, but when she was born, I had postpartum depression really, really bad. It was really bad. And my husband really, he was just frustrated at the situation and just kind of blamed the pregnancy and everything. And she had a lot of issues with her adenoids. Now, when I got this book, of course, I looked this up because it was such, she had so many problems with it that she ended up having to have her adenoids removed. And I looked this up, and it made me cry. So you'll see this. It's called Probable Feelings Connected to Illness. Okay. So adenoids, the possible emotions that are connected to the adenoids are acute disharmony in the home. Yep. Mama was going through major postpartum. It was not pretty. Feels restricted in life or in breathing. Child feels unaccepted or hostility from someone. Definitely. And feels unwelcome or in the way. And definitely that's in that situation, that's what was going on in our home and in our life. And so we will have that. We will have these physical issues that really have an emotional root. And so if you are having physical problems that you're like, I have tried everything that I can think of. I've tried every medication. I've tried diet changes. I've tried oils. I've tried herbs. I've tried whatever. Look at the emotional root. So that might give you a new perspective on how to handle that issue. So let's say you're having adrenal problems, right? That's a very common thing for a lot of us to have. Emotions that are connected to that are feels defeated, feels like a victim, no belief in self, they don't care what happens to me attitude, lack of courage, feelings of anxiety, misusing the will, subconscious belief that life must have burdens, being disloyal to self, unresolved jealousies and fears, and feels that one must struggle for success, power, or position. And so if you look at that list and you're like, oh my gosh, like I have like 5 of those things, then what you can do is start addressing those emotional roots and releasing them, reconciling them, whatever you need to do to handle those emotional roots. And then guess what? Your adrenals will more than likely heal. And if you use other techniques like emotion code or essential oils like Christy talked about earlier about loosening that paint on the floor, it really does help the body heal. Because all of these are tools. We still have to put forth some effort. It doesn't just magically poof, it's all gone. There are still steps to take and there's still processes to go through. But as we have increased tools and increased knowledge, we can ask for better things. We can seek for better answers, and we can use better tools that are going to fit our needs and the needs of our loved ones better. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions if you guys have any questions about what we've been talking about. And of course, my children decide to print right when it's time for questions. You can type your questions into the chat box and I will read them. So we talked about shielding. We talked about releasing absorbed emotions, and we talked about muscle testing. So this last book is called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die by Carol Truman. And I'm going to yell at my children that they're deciding to print right now. This is such a great book, and there is an app that you can get on your phone. Yeah, I'm presenting right now. Good job. But there's an app on your phone that you can get. It's $4.99, but it's called Healing Feelings. You can see it right here. It's a little purple heart, and just type in your app store, Feelings Buried Alive Never Die, and you can click on here and you can type in, okay, my throat hurts today, so I'm going to look up sore throat, and it says feelings, so we can look it up here. It says, feelings of anger going unrepressed, other negative feelings going unexpressed. So sometimes it's just a sore throat, but sometimes there could be some truth there. I'm not feeling that this is resonating with me. I'm pretty sure it's just a sore throat. But that's something that you can even muscle test for. So I could even say, does my sore throat have any emotional roots? Yes. Okay. Are there feelings of anger? Feelings unresolved. So there's feelings unresolved that I could work on to help clear up my sore throat. So it's pretty crazy. And you can start finding all the different connections. Oh my gosh, my child is printing a novel on this printer. I'm so sorry, guys. Hopefully it's not too loud. Janet asks, what stones and what placement do you recommend for using stones in the home? So I like just stones in general. And so I have stones all over the place. And I just find pretty ones. I just find like stones that just kind of, they call to me. Like I really enjoy them. And so I'll just place them. Like I usually place stones around electronics, especially because a lot of them will neutralize electromagnetic frequencies that we get from computers, from cell phones, from things like that. So for me, I'll have stones on my desk. I'll have stones on my nightstand to go in between my phone and my phone and my body when I'm sleeping. And I'll have stones other places. So really just wherever you feel like you could use them. I love them. I have them in my office because this is where I'm at most of the time. And then I'll just have little, random ones scattered around depending on what what else is going on. You can also I like them in my pocket to where if I don't have a pocket, I'll put it in my bra. I like them as a bracelet. I'm not a big stone on my necklace thing, but you can wear them as a necklace. I will just warn you that the more metal you have, that metal, except for copper, also attracts a lot of negative energy. So just be mindful of that. So less metal is good. So hopefully that helps, Janet, of where to place stones. And then Stephanie asks, is there other ways to test the body? Yes, there are. So I love muscle response testing. That's works really well for me. Another one you can do is you can use a pendulum. And so a pendulum is just going to be like a stone, and you can get these on Amazon at different like gemstones. And you can see I'm just holding the stone here. But if I put my hand and I ask a question, okay, is my name Nicole? Okay, and for me, my rule is that counterclockwise is a yes. Okay, and it's stopping now. I'm not moving it. Okay, is my name Bob? Okay, and so it's going the opposite direction. Okay, I don't use a pendulum a lot just because for me it's not very fast. It's not very efficient. But a pendulum is a great way to get responses because it is affected by the energy, and you can use it on your hand. You can use it over, like if you've got somebody laying down, you could do it to check their chakras. I'm not super versed in pendulums. I just like, this one's really pretty. My kids gave it to me for Christmas, and so I just have it hanging by my desk. But yes, there are other ways to test. There's even electronic things like the iTovi or a Zyto scanner, different biofeedback machines that can test the body. And there's different ways to muscle test. There's people that can use their tongue. There's people that can, they might just use their arm. They might just rub their fingers together. So there's lots of different ways to test and listen to the body. So that was a great question, Stephanie. Monette has a question, or Monet, avoid cords around electronics as they amplify the energy. Go with grounding stones around electronics. That's a great reminder. It is very important to make sure that you don't want to amplify those, because quartz is a great stone, but you want to be careful with that. So, but really I have found in any energy work, it comes down to your intention. If you're intending to benefit, it will benefit. If you're intending to help, it's going to help. God's very, in my belief system, God's very forgiving, and he's like, hey, if you're trying, you might get it, you need a little help. So you might get a teacher along the way that helps. Okay, we can tweak that a little bit. But just, be mindful and know that it's gonna all work out. So learn more and play around more with what's going on and what you're learning, because there's so much stuff out there, and there's so many things that that can be used to your benefit. And I'm still learning. I'm still growing, and I still make mistakes, but really they're not really mistakes. They're just learning things. Hold on real quick. Because your intention is it's gonna matter in the end. Because you're not gonna screw something up. Sticking a stone in the wrong side of your body is not gonna make everything wrong for you. Just have the belief. And Judith, I love this quote that she said, either you decide that this world is for you or against you. Decide that the world is for you, and everything will work out. Like, it might not be perfect, because that's what this life is. It's about going through and trying to figure it out. And that's how we learn. We learn from those growing experiences, because that's how we learn. That's how we grow. And that's how we get to know more, and we can share more as we gain more knowledge and share with others. Do we have any other questions? Sorry, I'm trying to help the next presenter get on. hopefully you guys are really enjoying this, this session. Let me pull up real quick how to get in touch with me again. So I am currently taking clients. I'm offering a special for new clients that is on my website at NicoleRVincent.com, if that's something that you're interested in. And I would be so happy to chat with you if you need a little help in any of these areas. And there's so many resources out there today for us. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording as we wait for our next presenter.